Good morning. Welcome to the premium and public video forecast discussion for June 10th, 2016. It's at 9 a.m. and once again, we're going to be dealing with the potential for some strong to severe thunderstorms and potentially an MCS here for tomorrow evening. Now, I know it feels amazing outside right now, and you're probably thinking, how could there possibly be any severe thunderstorms tomorrow? But just wait. I'll explain everything what's happening, and we'll get down to the brass tacks of why there is a severe threat, what we'll be watching for, and why not everyone's going to see severe thunderstorms. Heck, there might be people who see nothing but scattered cloud cover and maybe a passing shower. But I'm going to explain the threat and what we're going to be watching for over the next 24 to 48 hours as a warm front and cold front move through the region. So currently right now we have temperatures in the upper 50s to lower 60s. We have a westerly wind at around 5 to 15 miles per hour. And notice the dew points are in the lower 40s. So it feels absolutely amazing out. And this afternoon it's going to feel amazing with temperatures in the mid to upper 70s and dew points in the 40s. So it's going to feel like an amazing day today. Definitely get out there and enjoy it because it is absolutely going to be beautiful. But trouble is brewing. So when we take a look at the infrared satellite picture from the NWS, National Weather Service, excuse me, high pressure is in complete control. So it's going to be quiet today. Notice the flow here is convergent and confluent. That basically means sinking air. Keep an eye on that, okay? So you have sinking air, beautiful conditions. We have a trough over the northwestern Atlantic. All is fine. This storm here is what we're going to be watching for tomorrow. Now we get a better view of it on the water vapor satellite picture, and we zoomed out for a North American view here because it kind of gives you a complete picture. What we're watching for is this disturbance here. Notice the black here. Okay, that means sinking air, so we got a strong rising air here. And this disturbance here. Okay, now this disturbance becomes eventually a very powerful upper level low for Southeast Canada and the Canadian Maritimes. That sets up not only for Sunday, but also through the rest of next week, providing some rather very nice weather conditions for our neck of the woods. Threat for a few showers, but otherwise very nice. I'll get to that in a moment. But this disturbance actually sets up the whole environment here of the potential for severe thunderstorms. And the reason why is because this disturbance, although will not move right over our neck of the woods, will enhance the development of this disturbance here and strengthen it. How is that going to happen? Well, take a look at the European guidance. Now here we are for this morning. You have one disturbance over the northern plains I was showing you, and here's our Canadian disturbance. As we move forward towards tomorrow afternoon, here's our disturbance from the northern plains. Here is our Canadian disturbance. You see how the pressure lines here, the height lines are spreading out? This is called divergence and diffluence, okay? So when you have divergence and diffluence, it enhances upward motion in the atmosphere. And what's happening is that this disturbance is falling just at the perfect location of that enhancement, okay? So you have your ridge well up here, you have your trough approaching, you have your divergence and diffluence starting to enhance this disturbance, and by the time we get to tomorrow evening, that disturbance is moving right over the right over the New York City metropolitan areas and clipping the Philadelphia metropolitan areas. So what this leads to, this low disturbance along the warm front, is enhanced lifting, and as a result, the potential for a cluster of strong to severe thunderstorms. Now, the exact track of this disturbance is going to be a major influence on exactly where these thunderstorms set up. So we're going to have to watch that very carefully. If this sets up further south, then the whole complex ends up further south. Further north, hey, New England gets most of the threat, and the northern Mid-Atlantic misses out on most of the action. So that is pretty much the whole crux of the forecast here as we look at the evolution of this disturbance on the European guidance. Now, what's interesting is that when we take a look at the NAM model guidance, kind of the same scenario here. Here's our disturbance from the northern plains. Here's our trough from Canada. And you could see that on the NAM guns, the focus is more towards New England and not so much towards the northern Mid-Atlantic. And so you end up with, you still have this tail end here, okay, but you end up with a storm complex that's further north. My point here is that we have to watch to see how this disturbance develops over the next 24 hours. There is that chance that this whole MCF complex ends up further south than what we're currently forecasting. So understand that and know that. But for now, it looks like the focus is more towards Connecticut and southern New England. And this could get rather nasty. Okay, so we zoom in on the NAM guns here a little bit closer. You can see that evolution, the way all the forcing is focused more towards New England, and not so much. We still have some forcing here over northeastern Pennsylvania, diving into New Jersey on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. So we definitely have that PVA dropping south, and we have also heights falling while this is happening. So this all leads to increase in stability in the atmosphere. And so when I take a look at the soundings here, that catches my eye is that in the mid-levels between 500 around 600 millibars, let's say, you have very dry air, okay? And this is sounding at around 7 p.m. over Newark, New Jersey. Decided to pick Newark, New Jersey as kind of like the go-between between these disturbances diving south in New York City Metro and around Philadelphia. So I thought it was a good go-between. In this scenario, when I see this UT here, what concerns me here is that all you need to create a thunderstorm that reaches severe levels, and it won't be widespread, but these thunderstorms will have the capability of rapidly becoming severe, and you lift this moist environment that starts to develop into this very dry, cold air, okay? You're talking about dew points below 0 Celsius. That type of environment can produce thunderstorms that have very strong, what we call downburst winds. Basically, you take that moisture that's at the surface, you lift it up, and you rapidly cool the atmosphere. And that air mass at this level cools at such a rate that it crashes to the ground like a hammer. And so when I see this signature tells me the potential for strong downburst winds with wind gusts over 60 miles per hour, frequent lightning, potentially some hail, and very heavy downpours. Again, not everyone's going to see this. That doesn't mean there isn't a severe threat just because it doesn't hit your house. If you want to put a big red X in your house, that way you get severe weather, fine, whatever. Just understand that just because this threat is real just because it doesn't hit your house doesn't mean the threat's real. So understand what the potential here with this thunderstorm threat. So when we take a look at the model guidance, again, from Storm Vista Weather Models, excellent website to use. Payment for the model data is more than worth it, by the way. So here we have the forecasted analysis from the NAM model guidance of how this sets up. Now the warm front moves through in the morning with a few widely scattered showers. And then here comes our complex here. And this looks pretty vigorous. Now, again, because the majority of the forcing right now looks to be towards New England and Connecticut, that's where the bulk of the widespread heavy rainfall and thunderstorms will be located. What I'm concerned about is in the evening, you get these little isolated cells that are diving south, like we've seen here. Okay, now what's going to be interesting is that you're going to have outflow boundaries here, you have a sea breeze effect here, you have all these little boundaries here that model guidance really doesn't handle very well, that's going to be interacting with falling heights and that PVA dropping south. And so you kind of get this setup here. Now, if you're down in Cape May, southern New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, you have a better chance of missing out on the bulk of this. You're still at a threat for an isolated severe thunderstorm, but for the most part, most of your action is going to be to the north of you. If you're in central New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, southeastern New York, and that includes Long Island and Connecticut, you have an increasing threat as you go further north for strong to severe thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening as these little clusters. And the key thing here is that, yeah, they look small, but these little small thunderstorms will be capable of packing a rather impressive punch. So it doesn't look that impressive on the model guidance. You're probably looking at this and saying, hey, it's scattered, it's a little green, a little blue, no big deal. It doesn't look like there's like big red blotches anywhere. But understand the potential in the atmosphere in this environment supports those thunderstorms rapidly reaching severe levels and producing damaging wind, frequent lightning, hail, and very heavy downpours, and in many cases without much notice. And by the way, aside from the thunderstorms, as this complex is diving south, especially if you're in Long Island, Connecticut, northeastern New Jersey, what we call outflow boundaries, basically cool air coming out from these thunderstorms and racing south and east or south and west from this complex. It's kind of like a wall of wind, and that can also impact you without much notice. So a variety of different impacts here that we're going to keep an eye on for the next 24 to 48 hours as this event unfolds throughout the region. Diving into the forecast here, for this afternoon, pleasant weather conditions. Look for highs in the mid to upper 70s. For tonight, look for scattered cloud cover, and by tomorrow morning, you're going to see that warm front approaching the region. Look for increasing clouds. There's a threat for a few isolated showers, but really not that big of a deal through the early afternoon. Look for lows in the upper 50s to lower 60s, highs along the coast in the mid to upper 70s. As you head towards the Delaware River Valley, especially as this warm front moves through, look for highs in the lower to mid 80s. Where this warm front moves through on Saturday afternoon will basically tell you whether or not you're in your 80s or whether you're in your upper 70s. So, especially over portions of Long Island, Connecticut, you get that southerly wind off the Atlantic Ocean. It's going to keep your temperatures down. On Saturday evening, that warm front blasts through. We set up the environment for those thunderstorms to dive south. Here comes the cold front approaching from the west. So it could be a rather stormy evening. And then for Sunday, the cold front starts to exit the region. Look for a few showers early in the morning, and then clearing skies. Look for lows in the upper 60s to lower 70s because we're ahead of that cold front. Highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast and mid 80s in the Delaware River Valley. For the rest of the forecast, and remember that upper level low I was telling you about? Well, that's going to set up here over the Canadian Maritimes. So you're going to have what you call a convergence and confluent flow, which basically means air is coming together. And that's going to set up high pressure basically over the St. Lawrence River Valley, while this stationary front kind of wavers to our south. So for Monday, look for scattered showers as a threat, especially as you head towards Philadelphia. Otherwise, scattered cloud cover, lows in the mid to upper 50s, highs in the mid to upper 70s over the New York City metro, and upper 70s to lower 80s in the Philadelphia metro. On the next day, let's see here, this is Tuesday, the stationary front will be wavering over the region. A threat for widely scattered showers, isolated showers, otherwise scattered cloud cover, lows in the upper 50s, highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s, which is pretty much normal for this time of year. Same thing again for Wednesday, same scenario. As you head further north, better chance for clear skies. As you head down towards southern New Jersey, better chance for a few widely scattered showers, with temperatures ranging from the upper 50s for lows and lower 80s for highs. And then on Thursday, high pressure again to the north, stationary front to the south, threat for a few showers, otherwise scattered cloud cover. Look for lows in the upper 60s to lower 70s and highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s. That is your forecast discussion for today. Thank you for following NY and JPA weather. I hope I answered all your questions on the potential for this threat. Again, for tomorrow afternoon and evening. Just because a severe thunderstorm doesn't hit your neck of the woods or your house doesn't mean it isn't impacting someone else. So I have to keep an eye on this evolving situation and see exactly how these thunderstorms evolve, as the potential there is certainly present for some severe weather. Thank you for following NY and JPA weather, and as always, stay safe out there.